Welcome back to Alpha Recap, your post-market rundown from stockalpha.ai. The market's closed, and we're here to walk through the headlines that mattered after the bell. As always, if you have questions, you can reach us at stockalpha.ai.
Great to be here. Lots to unpack today. Legal noise, big crypto balance sheet clarity, and a massive battery storage project. Markets closed mixed, but there were some really loud pockets of activity.
Let's jump right in with the headline movers. First up, United Health. We saw a Form 4 disclosure filed July 6th that caught attention.
Right. The filing showed a concentrated position of 10.64%, alongside some other position items and trade price reference points around $416.20 and roughly $300.31.
Those kinds of insider-related filings can change governance dynamics and short-term sentiment. Analysts note that a concentrated stake like that can prompt more scrutiny, and sometimes it triggers proxy chatter or strategic questions.
So, what really stands out here is that those numbers are large enough to affect how people think about control and oversight. Not a market breaker by itself, but it was definitely a headline for the health insurance space.
Moving on, Bitmine Immersion Technologies issued a correction that was pretty material. They clarified holdings of 5.74 million ETH and about $11.1 billion in combined crypto and cash.
That correction increases the company's sensitivity to Ether price moves. When a firm has that much exposure, markets tend to reprice the stock as analysts reassess the balance sheet risk and disclosure quality.
I mean, when you step back and look at this, corrections like that can cause immediate volatility, even if the corrected figures are favorable. Uncertainty itself gets punished.
Exactly. And the follow-up to watch is how Ether moved and whether Bitmine's trading reflected that re-rating.
On the clean energy front, Envision Energy and Pulse Clean Energy announced a 310 megawatt-hour battery energy storage system in Wolverhampton in the UK.
That's a sizable utility-scale deployment, a visible sign that storage demand keeps growing outside traditional geographies. Projects like this help balance renewables and can be signals of future revenue streams for developers.
Right. And the other thing is these big projects tend to draw attention on permitting and supply chains, both of which can affect timelines and near-term sentiment.
We should pause here and talk about litigation. It was a busy day on the legal front.
Several law firms sent out notices inviting shareholders to seek lead plaintiff status in securities fraud class actions. Names included Sportradar Group, AeroVironment, Frisia, and Vera Mobility.
Mass outreach like that increases headline risk. Analysts note that lead plaintiff appointments and initial motions are frequent short-term catalysts. And plaintiffs' firms going broad across sectors suggests event-driven strategies rather than a single target focus. Yeah, that tracks.
Quick reads. One firm flagged potential losses for Sportradar investors, another reached out on AeroVironment and Frisia, and a third amplified headlines for Vera Mobility. The next things to watch are lead plaintiff motions, initial complaints, and any defensive company disclosures.
Honestly, I was a bit surprised by this one. The spread across sports data, defense, healthcare software, and mobility services means this could create episodic volatility in a lot of different corners of the market.
Short reaction.
Big legal wave.
Event risk.
Dockets are the place to watch.
On corporate and strategic moves, a few items were notable. Goldman hired Evan Kotsavinos from Google as a partner and engineering head.
That signals a renewed tech engineering push at the bank. Analysts say it could accelerate product initiatives, but also increase near-term tech spend.
Standard Motor Products formed a 50-50 joint venture with Techstrong to build sensor capacity in Thailand. That's clearly about supply resilience and localizing production for automotive sensors as electrification continues.
And Verdata joined the FICO marketplace to offer small and medium business data and risk insights to banks and fintechs, a distribution play that could speed commercialization if customer integrations follow.
Right, and that connects to the Envision Best deal. Both the SMP joint venture and the Wolverhampton project speak to companies adding physical capacity to service structural shifts, sensors for EVs, and grid-scale storage for renewables.
Short reactions.
CapEx is back.
Localization matters.
On flows and volume, we saw some headline ETF and equity activity. The ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF jumped about 2.5% on heavy volume, roughly 206 million shares.
And the ultra-short financials ETF rose about 2% with massive volume, about 331 million shares. That's a sign of tactical positioning or rebalancing into inverse leveraged exposure.
American Airlines traded heavily and finished the day down about 1.25% on roughly 130 million shares. High-volume sessions like these can amplify short-term volatility.
Analysts caution that big ETF volumes can create tracking errors and widened bid-ask spreads. The key is whether these sessions mark longer-term flows or just tactical rotations.
What to watch on that front? ETF flow data, futures versus spot spreads for Bitcoin, and whether the large volume sessions continue or mean revert.
On analyst notes, UBS reiterated a buy on Coca-Cola following investor meetings, keeping confidence in branded beverage stability and dividends.
UBS also lowered its price target on CME Group, citing weaker trading volumes. Exchanges are sensitive to fee per trade and contract volumes, so revisions like that can pressure short-term sentiment for exchange operators.
GTT Group released a patent transaction market report, highlighting high non-practicing entity activity. Elevated NPE transactions can be an under-the-radar legal cost for tech and communications firms.
So, what really stands out here is the interplay between trading volumes and revenue models. Weaker volumes hit exchanges directly, while rising NPE activity is a potential surprise cost for others.
On the consumer and regulatory side, the Specialty Food Association's 71st Summer Fancy Food Show drew about 32,000 attendees and 2,529 exhibitors, with buyer attendance up around 8% year over year.
That's a soft signal of buyer re-engagement for specialty food suppliers, an early hint at retail listing momentum. And ReproTech secured CE marking for its TMRW Vault as a Class II medical device under the EU medical device rules, a meaningful regulatory clearance for EU commercialization.
Plus, the Aquatic Safety Research Group launched an online certification platform for facility operators, a niche B2B training move that could have insurance and operational implications downstream.
Trade shows, medical clearances, and online certifications. It's a nice reminder that the market moves come from all kinds of corners, not just the headline stocks.
Patterns from today's tape tied together nicely. Litigation outreach was broad and cross-sector. CapEx and localization showed up in multiple deals. Data and platform plays kept surfacing. And flow-driven ETF activity raised short-term liquidity questions.
So what really stands out here is that these themes are consistent with a market that's repricing risk in real time. Legal headlines increase event risk, capacity deals point to structural investment, and data plays underline the tech arms race in finance.
Right. And from a risk perspective, the Bitmine correction and the Form 4 for United Health are two examples where disclosure clarity, or the lack of it, changed how people think about balance sheets and governance.
Quick checklist for tomorrow. Monitor court dockets for lead plaintiff motions or initial complaints tied to Sportradar, AeroVironment, Frisia, and Vera Mobility.
Also watch for any follow-ups to the United Health Form 4, amendments or clarifications that could change governance or proxy dynamics.
Crypto flows and Ether price action matter for Bitmine, and ETF flow data will clarify whether the big BITO and TZA sessions were durable moves or one-day rotations.
Keep an eye on CME volumes and any follow-ups from UBS that confirm the weaker volume thesis. And for the industrial side, watch for permitting or timeline updates on the Wolverhampton battery project and production ramp commentary from the Standard Motor JV.
Quick reactions.
Lots to watch.
Dockets and disclosures.
Flows will tell the tale.
Before we wrap, a quick investment reminder. This episode is for informational purposes only. We're not recommending buy, sell, or hold actions, and we're not providing personalized investment advice. Analysts note trends and data points for situational awareness. Do your own due diligence, or consult a professional when needed.
To summarize our takeaways: 1. Legal outreach across multiple companies raised event risk and will make dockets a key watch. 2. Bitmine's corrected crypto holdings made balance sheet sensitivity to Ether a headline risk. 3. Utility-scale storage and localization moves signal continued capex in industrial and energy infrastructure. 4. Flow-driven ETF activity and analyst notes on volumes created short-term liquidity and sentiment signals.
Those are great high-level points. If you had to boil it down to one sentence, disclosures and legal headlines created short-term event risk, while strategic capacity and data plays hint at longer-term structural shifts.
Right, and remember, watch the dockets, follow the disclosures, and keep an eye on flows and permit timelines.
If you have questions about anything we covered today, head to stockalpha.ai where you can ask us directly and we'll answer live. For more market analysis and insights, visit stockalpha.ai. Thanks for listening to Alpha Recap.
Catch you next time, same time, post-market. Bye for now.